What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Tuesday edition of the NHL Playoff video. I am your host, Josh Harris. You can find me on Twitter at JRH002DFS. And as always, we are sponsored by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is a prop-based contest, and if you use promo code Awesemo, there is a couple things that they'll give you. First, you can get 1 month of Awesemo Plus Platinum when you sign up and make a deposit using the promo code Awesemo, and you'll receive an email within 24 to 48 hours after you redeem your free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. Also, if you use promo code Awesemo, they will give you a $100 first match deposit bonus, which is awesome. And since, it's a prop-based contest, you can use our Odd Shoppers tools to help you with the prop betting. Also, you can use it for any types of betting, but since Prize Picks is a prop-based contest, you can use it for the props. So let's talk about last night a little bit. My Rangers got absolutely nuked last night, so I figured why not just record with Max Payne and put on a New York Jets shirt, because I'm a Jets fan, so I guess I like Payne. But Rangers got absolutely destroyed. Igor looks rattled. Gallant got out coached. Patrick Nemeth needs to be sent to a black site in Somalia. That being said, I think he can come back and have, a good season next season. He's just having a terrible series. Not everybody's going to play their best. So what else happened? Panthers won a pivotal game 4 in overtime to tie that series of 2 going back to Florida. That's important. The Avs swept the Preds, which isn't a big surprise. It does suck a little bit because now tomorrow's slate's going to be down to 3 games. I was hoping the Preds would extend the series a little bit so we can get some more 4-game slates. And then the Calgary Flames beat the Stars in Dallas. They put up 54 shots on goal. They really took it to him. Ottinger did whatever he could. He had another great game, but it was just too much for him. So let's go into tonight's slate. We're going back to the original cities. So it's going to be in Carolina, it's going to be in Toronto, going to be in Minnesota, going to be in Edmonton, and all these series are tied at 2. So very important game 5s. All 4 series are now down to a best of 3. Very crucial game 5s here. So let's get into it. First game of the night, we have the Boston Bruins with a 2.8 total heading into Carolina. Carolina has a 3.2 total. It's going to be Jeremy Swayman confirmed for the Bruins, and Antti Raanta is probable at this point. Big news for the Bruins. Charlie McAvoy remains out. He's in COVID protocols, and Hampus Lindholm is also still out with an injury. Those are huge losses on the blue line for the Bruins. And not only that, now it's back in Carolina. So, and Carolina at home, they'll send out Jordan Staal, Jesper Fast, Nito Niederreiter against the Bergeron, Marchand, and Pastrnak line, which will free up Aho, Svechnikov, and Jarvis to go against, bottom 6 matchups. So I really, really like Carolina 1 tonight. They're coming in around 10%, which is lower than I thought, considering the blue line issues for the Bruins and them avoiding Bergeron. If I had to guess, that ownership is going to come up during the day. That being said, they're still my favorite line from this game. I just really like the Aho Svechnikov combo. I know they're not correlated on the power play, but Aho and Jarvis are, and they're really good 5-on-5. So I'm in on Carolina 1. I'm also in on Carolina 2. They're also going to avoid Bergeron for the most part. So you get Teravainen and Trocheck on the top power play. Trocheck's down to 3,600, which is very, very cheap. Also, Martin Netchus moved up to that line. He's min priced. That line is, 11-2 to full stack. Let you get in some very expensive lines, and you still get 2/3 power play 1 correlation, and they avoid Bergeron. So I'm in on Carolina top 6. On the Boston side, I'm not as high on Boston tonight. That being said, the top line's only coming in at 12.5%, and they're fully correlated. They are going to get that Staal matchup, which is a very tough matchup. Jordan Staal line has been one of the better defensive lines, especially in the second half of the season. That being said, at 12.5%, if you're MMEing 3 to 4 lineups out of 20, you get over the field. So I think, at that ownership, I'm fine with going 3 of 24, 20 in MME, get a little bit over the field. So That's really about the only thing I want on Boston. You want to go to that second line of Hall, Craig Smith. I don't mind it for, some correlate, like some a cheap filler per se. Like they're 10-5. I just would rather, like, if I'm going to spend around 10-5 to 11, it's going to be Carolina 2. I prefer Carolina 2 over Boston 2. If Charlie Coyle, Jake DeBrusk on Boston 3, like the same thing. I'd rather just play Carolina 2. So let's go to the blue lines here. Boston without Hampus and Charlie McAvoy is going to leave Grislock on the top power play unit at 2,900. I think he's a fine play. I don't know how much work they're going to get done on the power play. Carolina has a great penalty kill. I know it got exposed the last game, but that was in Boston. So I think I'd rather just punt with Brennan Carlo, 2,600, or Derek Forbort at min price. He's been a block shot machine in this series. So those are the guys. If you want to correlate with Grizzlick, I think that's perfectly fine. On the Carolina side, it's Tony DeAngelo for me, or punting with Brett Pesce. So let's move to the Tampa Bay Lightning. They have a 3.2 total heading into Toronto. Toronto has a 3.4 total. Jack Campbell is confirmed. Andre Vasilevsky is probable. I would be shocked if he doesn't start. Leafs mixing up their lines again. Bunting returns to the top line with Matthews and Marner. And then the second line is Ilya Mikheyev, John Tavares, Alexander Kerfoot, and which that means it moves William Nylander down to that third line again. It's pretty funny, like how the Leafs coach Sheldon Keefe is talking about how Tavares needs to get going, and then he puts him with Mikheyev and Kerfoot. Like, do the guy, like, if you want to get him going, do him a favor and put him with some people here. Give him at least Nylander and Kasha or something. But it is what it is. I am not a coach in the NHL, so you gotta trust him, I guess. But for me, this is a Toronto 1 game or Toronto power play, because as I've talked ad nauseum in this series, Tampa Bay penalty kill has not been great. There have been a ton of penalties on both sides in this game. I don't know if it's the same refs or what's going on, or they just got trigger happy whistles, but there's been so many penalties. I think the Leafs have been shorthanded 23 times in the series. And if you think about it, it's been 4 games, right? I mean, they've been shorthanded 23 times. In 4 games in the Rangers-Penguins series, there's been only 21 power plays. So, like, the Leafs have been shorthanded more than the amount of power plays in the Rangers-Penguins series, which is nuts. So I think, power play stacking on both sides is where I want to go. If you want to leave, like, Toronto 1's perfectly fine, but if you want to leave Bunting off, I think adding in Willie Nylander is going to be a good play. Willie Nylander down in the third line. His ownership should be down a little bit compared to what it would have been with Tavares. So Toronto 1 for me, or Toronto power play. On the Lightning side, it's going to be a power play stack. Stamkos, Kucherov, Point are the guys that I want to get in. If you need the salary savings, Killorn is fine. He doesn't produce much on the power play, though. So Toronto 1, Toronto power play, and Lightning power play. On the blue lines, it's going to be the power play quarterbacks for me, Victor Hedman and Morgan Riley. Morgan Riley is $1,700 cheaper than Hedman. But if you're correlating, you get those guys in. If not, on the Lightning side, you punt with Chernak or McDonough. On the Leaf side, Jake Muzzin probably would be the only guy that I'd want to punt with. So let's move to the next game. We have the St. Louis Blues with a 3.1 total heading into Minnesota. The Wild have a 3.4 total. Marc-Andre Fleury is confirmed. I know Jordan Binnington started last game. They don't have a confirmation there. Could be Binnington, could be Husso. We'll have to wait and see there. It doesn't really change too much in the analysis. I think Husso is a better goalie, though. That being said, I'm back on the Wild train here. Now, these lines are interesting for the Blues. The last game they ran Shen, O'Reilly, Perron, Saad, Thomas, Kyrou, and then Buchnevich, Barbashev, Tarasenko. So I don't know who the Joel Eriksson Ek line is going to match. If I had to guess, it's going to be O'Reilly, Perron, and Shen. That being said, it's just a complete guess. Now, all the Blues lines are fairly low owned, so I guess you can just play whichever one you prefer. I just worry that they're going to run into the Joe Eriksson Ek line, but the top line fully correlated on the power play. The Thomas line is fully correlated on the second power play unit, and where you could take advantage of the Wild anyways on the penalty kill. So I think, assuming that Joe Eriksson Ek gets Ryan O'Reilly, I think I may go to Saad, Thomas, Kyrou. And I also like Buchnevich, Barbashev, Tarasenko. You can leave Barbashev off if you want. I like the two-man of Buchnevich, Tarasenko. On the Wild side, I'm in on the Wild top line for sure. They're very chalky, though. They're coming in around 25%. So if you want to leave off Hartman, add in Joe Eriksson Ek to get more power play and less ownership, I think that's fine. I think Kevin Fiala makes for a great one-off or an addition into a power play stack. And I think Joe Eriksson Ek on his own is a nice one-off, or pairing him with Marcus Foligno for some salary savings also is nice. So on the blue lines here, Colton Parayko just plays like 30 minutes a night now, apparently. So he's the guy that I would want to play. Like even if I was fading the Blues here, I think Colton Parayko 4,200 is fine. Otherwise, you can correlate the power play units with Falk or Scott Paranovich. On the Wild side, it's going to be Spurgeon for some power play correlation, or I'm punting with Brodin and Dumba. So let's move to the final game of the night. We have the Los Angeles Kings with the 2.7 total heading into Edmonton. The Oilers have a 3.8 total. Some line changes for the Oilers. Kyler Yamamoto moves up to the top line. Ryan McLeod moves up to the second line, which moves Puljujarvi down to the third line with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. From a DFS perspective, it doesn't really change much for me on the Oilers side. I'm going to do what I always do with the Oilers, and that's power play stack. Get in your McDavids, get in your Draisaitl's, add in the Hymans, the Canes, the Yamamotos, the Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Now, I will say with Yamamoto on the top line, he's 2,800. He is on that second power play unit, but McDavid does play the full unit, or the full power play, the 2 minutes. So I think you can full stack Kane, McDavid, Yamamoto. Yamamoto has been very good with McDavid this season. So I think going to full Edmonton 1 here is a nice way to get some lower ownership, because I think the most popular thing to do with the Oilers is power play stack. So going full Edmonton 1 with Kane, McDavid, Yamamoto is a nice way to get different. Don't mind that second line with Ryan McLeod there. Like, he's a decent offensive player. But again, like if I'm going to go Hyman Draisaitl, I'm probably just going to add in McDavid. On the Kings side, we still don't have news on Arvidsson. Also, Anthony Siu is out, which moved Iafallo up to the top line, which moved Carl Grundstrom to the second line. Now, like I said, it doesn't really matter who's on that line as long as Deneau is the center, and he is. But, Grundstrom's not on a power play unit. I don't know what I want to do here unless I know the lines. Like, if Arvidsson's back, that does change some things, but he hasn't practiced at all. So if I'm going to do anything, it's probably just like a Deneau one-off, or, Kempe one-off, or a Kempe Kopitar two-man, or, or I can just go Kopitar, Kempe, Deneau for some power play. But these lines right now, I don't really love them. If we get some news, which is very hard to come by in the playoffs, that the lines are going to be different and they have a better combinations with Deneau, I'll be interested in LA too, but we'll just have to wait and see. On the blue lines, Tyson Barrie is involved on the power play at 4,100, so I'll play him. If not, it's going to be Darnell Nurse or Cody Ceci for me. On the Kings side, Sean Durzi, if you're doing power play. I think Edler is a fine punt. I think Matt Roy is a fine punt. If you need a min-price punt, Troy Stetcher, if he's in, is not bad. So let's talk about the goalies tonight. I think Antti Ranta is a nice play here for cash games. I think without the Boston players on the blue line and the Hurricanes being at home, getting to dictate matchups, I think Ranta or whoever starts for the Hurricanes is a nice cash play, or you can play him in GPPs. I think that's fine as well. Swayman is an interesting GPP play because Carolina should get high shot volume tonight. Swayman does have a shot at the saves bonus, 7,600 if he gets the saves bonus. You don't necessarily need a win to get 15 to 20 DK points. It would be nice, but I don't think it'll kill you if he does get the saves bonus and allows like 3 goals. Vasilevsky, Campbell, more of a correlation play for me. Like if you like correlating goalies with your lineups, put Campbell in with your Leafs lineups, put Vasilevsky in with your Lightning lineups. I think Marc-Andre Fleury is a nice GPP pivot off of Ranta. He's been my favorite goalie all playoffs. I'm going to continue to ride him there. We'll have to wait and see who's in net for the Blues. If it's Husso, I would have some interest in GPPs. And then in the late game, 8,500 Mike Smith is a no thank you to me if you want to, like I understand if you want to play him in cash because of the lineup concerns for the Kings, but in GPPs you would definitely need a shutout for him to be optimal. And it's Mike Smith, and it's chalk Mike Smith. It just feels bad. John Quick, I guess, would be a contrarian GPP hopium play, I guess I would call it. He might see some shot volume. This is just a tough matchup there. So Ranta and Marc-Andre Fleury, my favorite plays. Now, let's talk about hat tricks. My hat trick pick tonight is going to be Andrei Svechnikov. So that will wrap it up for today's Tuesday NHL Playoff VOD. As always, we are sponsored by Prize Picks, prop-based contest. I wish it was legal in New Jersey. I'd be all over it. But if you're in a legal state, definitely check that out. And we will catch you tomorrow. We'll see you for the Wednesday show. Bye.